Imagine creating a kingdom so vast that the world crowns you its richest citizen. Now picture seeing it crumble, not because competitors strike or markets collapse, but because love falters, secrets surface, and trust shatters. This isn't just Jeff Bezos' tale, it's the drama that transformed the untouchable titan of wealth into a man suddenly exposed to vulnerability. Bezos was never meant to be ordinary. His mind raced in scales too big for a garage ideas, too ambitious for any ordinary startup. And yet that's exactly where it all began, not in a towering office, not in a palace, but in a modest rented home in Seattle. The walls were lined with books, the floor tangled with wires, and dreams bigger than the room itself. By his side from day one was McKenzie Scott, then Mackenzie Tuttle. More than a spouse, she was a partner in the audacious experiment that would become Amazon. She hustled him to interviews, stayed awake through endless nights of number crunching, and became the first believer in his vision, more faithful than any investor, more committed than any board member. For years, the world saw them as the living embodiment of the American dream. Early life was far from glamorous. Money was scarce, every penny accounted for. Mackenzie managed payroll while Jeff obsessed over product ideas. Together, they poured their energy into a venture so unlikely that most of Silicon Valley dismissed it outright. Selling books online? It sounded like a hobby, never an empire. Yet brick by brick, line by line, package by package, the vision took form. Amazon wasn't born from luck, it was forged in relentless sacrifice. The world watched as Jeff Bezos evolved from a Princeton graduate with an idiosyncratic laugh into a revolutionary industrial force. A man who didn't just see the internet for what it was, but imagined what it could become. Mackenzie's contributions often went unnoticed by headlines, yet insiders knew the reality. She drafted business plans, mapped logistics, and applied the same meticulous drive later visible in her novels. She endured the long absences, the obsessive focus, the tunnel vision that defined Bezos. She held faith in the mission even as it consumed them both entirely. For 2 decades, that bond seemed unbreakable. 4 children, a home in Seattle, summers spent in Medina, and a life curated perfectly for the press and investors alike. A family next door who also happened to be billionaires. But wealth alters gravity. It warps reality. As Amazon morphed into one of the planet's most formidable corporations, the emotional distance between Jeff and Mackenzie quietly widened. Success brought more than riches, it brought temptation. Endless travel, marathon board meetings, nights that faded into mornings, and the dizzying influence of being the world's richest man. Bezos wasn't just running a company. He was redefining culture, reshaping commerce, and influencing how humanity consumed itself. Somewhere within that transformation, cracks began to appear in their marriage. By 2017, Bezos' public persona had shifted, from the quirky tech founder to an untouchable magnate. Magazine covers captured him in leather jackets, his physique sharper, his aura radiating, more like a global celebrity than a CEO. With that transformation came murmurs of reinvention. He was no longer satisfied, being just the man behind Amazon. Bezos aimed to be seen as a pioneer in space media and even lifestyle itself. And those closest to him began noticing the sharp edges emerging beneath the glow. For Mackenzie, the change was impossible to ignore. She had spent decades in the shadows, nurturing their children, penning novels, and keeping the family anchored, while Jeff drifted into a world she scarcely recognized. The marriage that once thrived on shared ambition now carried a heavy silence. And within that silence, doubt began to fester. When news of the affair broke, it didn't feel like a mere leak, it hit like a shockwave. The conversation shifted from Prime subscriptions and rockets to Lauren Sanchez, the glamorous helicopter pilot and television personality, seemingly lifted from a Hollywood script. Lauren embodied everything Mackenzie was not: flashy, visible, endlessly social, while Mackenzie cherished quiet and discretion. Bezos hadn't just betrayed his wife. He had rewritten the story of his life. The National Enquirer's investigation was sensational, and invasive private texts, intimate photo secrets billionaires assume are untouchable suddenly splashed across tabloids. The world's richest man was reduced to a scandal straight out of reality TV. Except this was no fiction. The empire builder became fodder for mockery and viral memes. A billionaire undone not by rivals or regulators, but by desire. Yet within this scandal lay a deeper tale of power and reinvention. Bezos was humiliated, yes, but also strangely freed. No longer bound by the image of devoted family man, he leaned into the affair, embracing it openly, even appearing in public with Lauren. While the ink on the divorce papers barely dried, Mackenzie made her exit quietly, but with a settlement that instantly ranked among the largest in history, catapulting her into the league of the world's richest women overnight. Yet instead of hoarding her newfound fortune, she began giving it away, donating billions in ways that almost seemed to highlight her ex-husband's extravagance. She transformed herself into the polar opposite of Bezos' humility in place of spectacle. But this was only the opening act. Bezos wasn't merely navigating an affair. He was reconstructing his entire existence, unintentionally exposing the fragile foundation of wealth and image he had spent decades building. What began as tabloid fodder quickly spiraled into lawsuits, blackmail claims, and a battle not just for reputation, but for the narrative of the world's richest man. The immediate fallout rattled investors who rushed to reassure that Amazon's empire remained untouchable. Yet the markets are sensitive, and for the first time, Jeff Bezos' personal life became business news. Late-night hosts seized on it. Analysts fretted over distractions, and executives scrambled behind the scenes to manage optics. Amazon was too colossal to falter, but its leader suddenly appeared small, vulnerable, and unmistakably human, the very exposure Bezos had spent decades avoiding. What made the scandal truly explosive wasn't just the affair itself, but the way it came to light, texts that read like a teenager's diary photos that should never have surfaced. Bezos, the meticulous strategist who anticipated every risk, had been caught unguarded, his vulnerability weaponized by the National Enquirer. Headlines cast him as obsessed, infatuated, even desperate, the world's richest man reduced to a caricature of a man undone by desire. But Bezos wasn't one to retreat quietly. He struck back, accusing the tabloid of blackmail, claiming a plot to extort him. Suddenly, the story shifted. What started as a tale of infidelity morphed into a real-life thriller involving private investigators' Saudi connections and whispers of espionage. The richest man on earth had declared war on the gossip machine, attempting to seize control of his public image. Yet no counterattack could erase the image of McKenzie Scott walking away, not with anger, but with quiet, unwavering resolve. While Jeff battled tabloids, McKenzie finalized a settlement exceeding $30 billion, instantly becoming one of the wealthiest women alive. Her decision to donate large portions to charities, universities, and grassroots causes only amplified the contrast between them. As Bezos appeared at Hollywood parties with Lauren flaunting his new chapter, McKenzie quietly reshaped the narrative with generosity. The story evolved from one of betrayal to two divergent paths stemming from the same empire. Lauren Sanchez, meanwhile, became a magnet for public fascination. A former television anchor with a flair for glamour, her presence transformed Bezos from tech billionaire to tabloid fixture. She was photographed on yachts, at festivals, draped on his arm, in ensembles that screamed reinvention and a new era. Bezos was no longer hiding. He was performing a midlife metamorphosis, unfolding not behind closed doors, but in front of a global audience. Yet the spectacle invited probing questions. Was this genuine love or carefully curated image? Was he pursuing happiness or relevance? Insiders whispered that Lauren was more than a partner. She was a co-architect of his reinvention. Ambitious, well-connected, unafraid of the spotlight, she offered Bezos not just companionship, but a collaborator in crafting his new persona. Through her, he gained access to Hollywood circles, glamour, and a kind of cultural capital money alone couldn't purchase. The divorce finalized with astonishing speed, considering the stakes. McKenzie walked away with her fortune and her dignity. Jeff retained his empire, his relationship with Lauren now public, but the price extended beyond money. The scandal had permanently reshaped his image. Once the disciplined visionary conquering commerce, he was now a billionaire embroiled in a messy, very human drama. His private life stripped bare, vulnerabilities exposed. The scale made it all the more extraordinary. This wasn't a neighborhood dispute, but the richest man alive, dividing mansions, private jets, and stock worth hundreds of billions. History's most expensive breakup was dissected relentlessly. Every gesture scrutinized, every smile photographed, every pause questioned. And through it all, Bezos seemed almost addicted to the attention. The man who had built Amazon on efficiency now leaned into extravagance, striding red carpets, vacationing across the Mediterranean, a spectacle in motion. Bezos was now visible in hot spots around the globe, revealing a side of himself few had ever witnessed. To critics, it smacked of hypocrisy. To admirers, it signaled transformation. For everyone watching, it was theater at its finest. The irony was sharp. Jeff Bezos, who had once preached discipline, demanded relentless hours from his employees, and championed obsessive dedication to mission, was now indulging in the very luxuries he had long resisted. His reinvention alongside Lauren wasn't merely a love story. It was a declaration. He was no longer confined to spreadsheets or warehouses. He was rewriting his life under the public eye, daring the world to pass judgment. Meanwhile, McKenzie emerged as the embodiment of quiet influence. She didn't need yachts, flash, or photo ops. Her power lay in generosity. She signed the giving pledge, donated billions to organizations seldom graced with such support, and penned essays reflecting deeply on privilege and responsibility. Public sentiment responded while Bezos became the spectacle and Lauren the enigma. McKenzie was hailed as the unexpected hero of the divorce of the century. Yet as the months passed and the headlines refused to fade, it became clear this was more than gossip. It was a clash of narratives, humility versus extravagance, old love versus new desire, a billionaire attempting to script every frame of his story, while scandal proved unstoppable. The world's richest man had learned a lesson money could never buy. Some things are beyond purchase: silence, loyalty, and certainly redemption. And yet behind the spectacle, the question of motive still lingered. Why would a man known for relentless discipline risk everything for desire? Why hand over the keys to his private life to the tabloids? The answer might lie not in wealth or fame, but in something far deeper, a craving for validation that had shadowed Bezos since childhood. The story of a father who walked away, the silence that followed, and the drive to build an empire as proof of worth, all of it, traced back to the same deep wound. McKenzie had seen it unfold for years. She lived beside it, understood it. Every late night, every startup, every obsessive focus wasn't merely business, it was a way to fill a void. Then came Lauren, offering a different kind of bomb. She wasn't the partner who built Amazon. She was the one who saw Jeff not as the unyielding CEO, but as a man longing to be admired, adored, and recognized in ways McKenzie no longer could, not through neglect, but because marriages evolve and dynamics change. In Lauren, he glimpsed a reflection of himself. He wanted the world to witness vibrant, glamorous daring. Yet every reinvention carries a price. A reputation once fractured is rarely fully restored. And while Bezos poured billions into Blue Origin, chasing his dream of space exploration, whispers never truly subsided. Critics questioned whether his obsession with rockets was humanity's next leap, or simply the newest stage for his ego to shine. Headlines painted him as a man trying to escape Earth, not just physically, but symbolically, leaving behind scandals, betrayals, and failures to craft a new narrative among the stars. For McKenzie, the reinvention was quieter, yet far more profound. She didn't flee, she leaned in. She gave away her fortune-amplified voices, long silenced by inequality, and chose to rewrite her story not in orbit, but on the ground where real lives could be changed. The public took notice. Her grace and dignity stood in stark contrast to Jeff's flamboyance. In that contrast, the divorce became more than a personal drama. It became a cultural lesson, a reflection on values and the meaning of legacy. Meanwhile, Bezos and Lauren became inseparable fixtures of global gossip, yacht decks, gala carpets, paparazzi spreads. Designer gowns and tuxedos framed a romance unfolding like a cinematic spectacle. Yet living in a movie has its consequences. Lawsuits emerged, rivals circled Washington, insiders dissected his political sway, and critics warned that his private choices were bleeding into professional vulnerabilities. Still, Bezos appeared unshaken. Every smile with Lauren, every laugh in Capri or St. Bart's broadcast a clear message. He wouldn't hide, he wouldn't apologize. He would embrace reinvention even if it meant ridicule. For Jeff Bezos, control mattered more than perception. If the world refused him grace, he would manufacture it. And through sheer audacity, the public remained divided. Some saw humanity in the billionaire's love story. Others saw power bending morality under its weight. For many, it was pure entertainment. A modern Greek tragedy playing out across magazine covers and gossip sites week after week. The richest man alive cast in the oldest role of all, the flawed hero, undone not by rivals, but by desire. No matter how much Jeff tried to shift attention to the future billions poured into technology, visions of colonies beyond Earth, the world refused to look away from the past. The divorce, the affair, the leaked texts. Meanwhile, McKenzie quietly reshaped the world through her philanthropy, amplifying the contrast even further. It was a perfect storm of scandal, ambition, and reinvention, a story Hollywood itself could not have scripted. Perhaps that is why it continues to resonate. It isn't just about Jeff Bezos, McKenzie Scott, or Lauren Sanchez. It's about the collision of ambition and intimacy, the human cost, when the pursuit of greatness meets the fragility of relationships. It's about how even the richest man on earth cannot escape the consequences of desire, and how reinvention, though possible, comes never without pain. By the end of that first year post-divorce, the roles had crystallized: Jeff the billionaire dreamer chasing stars, Lauren the glamorous partner shaping his public rebirth, McKenzie the philanthropist transforming wealth into generosity. Yet the shadow of scandal lingered visible in every photo headline and comparison drawn between who they had been and who they had become. And as the world continued to watch, one truth emerged unmistakably. This was far more than a divorce, more than tabloid fodder. It was a story about legacy, the cost of ambition, and the peculiar theater of modern fame, where even the deepest, most private wounds become public spectacle, devoured by a global audience eager to witness the fall of giants and the reinvention that follows. Yet as years passed, one truth rang louder than any headline: love and scandal don't erase legacy, they reshape it. Jeff Bezos had built an empire that transformed how the world shops, reads, and connects. But in chasing reinvention, he revealed that even the richest man alive could be stripped to his most human vulnerabilities. Betrayed by desire, haunted by childhood scars, and remade by the women in his life, he became both legend and cautionary tale. McKenzie Scott emerged from Amazon's shadow not as a victim but as a force. Her billions became lifelines for schools, communities, and charities, proving that wealth could heal rather than wound. She embodied quiet strength, redefining billionaire philanthropy while shunning the spotlight she once inhabited. Lauren Sanchez, meanwhile, stood beside Jeff not merely as a partner, but as the co-architect of his new life, glamorous, ambitious, unapologetic. She ushered him into Hollywood circles, yacht decks, festivals, and red carpets, crafting a portrait of the man who had once lurked in boardrooms and warehouses. Their romance became both spectacle and statement. Bezos would not hide from scandal, he would build a new stage upon it. And Jeff himself, perhaps more exposed than ever, stepped back from daily Amazon duties to pour billions into Blue Origin, chasing the dream of space colonies and human expansion beyond Earth. For some, it was ego. For others, vision. For Bezos, it was redemption. A chance to rise above the gravity of scandal, to prove that his story wasn't ending but beginning anew among the stars. Yet for all the rockets, yachts, and flashing headlines, one question remains: what will Jeff Bezos truly be remembered for? The empire he built, the scandal that shook the world, the race to space, or perhaps the quiet warning McKenzie once gave Lauren years ago: survive it. Maybe that was the lesson all along. Empires rise, marriages crumble, legacies shift, and in the end, survival is the truest measure of success. So what do you think? Was Jeff Bezos undone by scandal or reborn through it? Did McKenzie's quiet grace leave the greater legacy? Or will Lauren Sanchez's influence define the next chapter of the world's most public billionaire love story? One thing is clear: this was never just a divorce. It was about power, reinvention, and the steep cost of ambition, and the story is still being written. If you want to keep uncovering the scandal, secrets, and untold truths that Hollywood and the billionaire elite hope to hide, hit that like button. Share this video with anyone who thinks money buys happiness, and don't forget to subscribe to Cinematic Sins, because this is only the beginning and the next scandal is closer than you think. At its core, Hollywood isn't just glamour and red carpets. It's power, secrets, and scandals that lie dormant until the truth forces them into the light. Courtroom battles, chaotic relationships, behind-the-scenes deals, the story never truly ends. And as always, we'll be here watching, digging, and uncovering the pieces that others try to bury. Please subscribe for more unique videos and attractive videos.